Your uni, your team. From kick-off to the final whistle. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Shock Sports Show. I am once again your host, Elliot Palmer, and I'm joined with Noah Bonito-Yorke. We have every thought to you a little bit about the sport over the last week, that it was football, the Premier League, the FA Cup, the WSL, Champions League, a lot of kicking off today. We're also going to be talking at Winter Olympics, Six Nations, and potentially about a new upcoming squad from America called Greenwich Race.
First of all, before we get into anything else, we're going to keep it local with our first topic, because in the FA Cup last week, Salford City took on Manchester City in what can only be described as a clash of the Titans. Now, how did that go, gentlemen? Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy watching it? What was the...
I mean, it could have went a lot worse for Salford, considering like this time last year they lost
8-0
by a lot. Yeah.
8-0, yeah.
And it was on a good run at that point as well.
Yeah, James McAtee just decided to turn into Maradona, didn't he, that game? Did he score a hat-trick, something like that? But how did it go this year?
No, but I think
you were there, were you
really,
not,
Noah? Really interesting game. City played quite a strong squad. It wasn't like, they didn't have Haaland, but started Marmoush and Foden, and then at half-time they brought on Gehi and Semenyo, so it wasn't a weak squad, it wasn't just kids. And Salford played well. It was really surprising. I was expecting, to lose again, 8-0.
Just a battery.
But 2-0, 1-0 at half-time. And Salford deserved a penalty in the first half, but no VAR in the fourth round.
Is that the way it should be? Should we keep that?
Yes,
through the
I
FA
think
Cup?
it's better without VAR. But it comes in the fifth round, right?
That's the controversy. Obviously, there was loads of stuff that happened in the Villa and Newcastle game where, I think there was an offside goal that was given, and there was, fouls given that weren't really fouls, and all over the place. I feel like, to be fair, I would rather, in the sense of, when you have it where certain games they'll go, oh, you can have VAR because it's a Prem ground, but then other games you can't. It should be across the board. You can't just pick and choose which games are able to.
Yeah, we saw that with Wolves Liverpool a couple of years ago, didn't we? When they played at Molineux and they didn't have VAR, and Wolves did they not score a goal from a player that was inside the net? Or it was clear from inside the goal, like it was a mess because there was no VAR, and then they played the second leg and there was VAR. It can get in the way of it.
Yeah,
but I quite like it without VAR.
I like it.
Yeah, more
authentic,
football.
But also, it's more entertaining because we can, as a neutral, if you're watching a game, it's much more fun to see if something's going terribly wrong. Especially with the Newcastle-Aston Villa game. Aston Villa were getting away with murder. Newcastle still won, of course, and it would have been a problem if they didn't win. But I thought it was very entertaining to see Geordies get wound up about it.
So we mentioned Newcastle there, we mentioned Manchester City there. They've got the potential to become very good pals over this season, have they not? The potential to potentially play each other 7 times in one season.
7 times.
That is a lot. That is Celtic Rangers level stuff. That is like an Old Firm derby every 3 weeks.
That
stuff.
is true. The new Celtic Rangers.
Yeah, that is the new Old Firm derby. And
they played each other quite a lot last season as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
They played each other in Champions League.
It does feel Manchester City and Newcastle play each other quite a lot, and it's always usually quite a controversial game as well. It was this time with offsides being given, fouls being given.
Oh, the Haaland one. Oh, that was horrendous.
All over the shop for Man City, but Man United, sort of smooth sailing to mediocrity as per usual.
As per usual.
We've sort of returned back from our massive high that we were on last week when I sat here on the sports show and said that Manchester United were back and were the best team that has ever graced the
I did say if that was
going
to happen a few weeks ago.
I was hearing you were going to win the league if Arsenal dropped points. That's how
They're going on a title run.
Yeah, going on a title run. Oh.
So is this the Manchester United of old? Have we had the manager bump of the 4 wins in a row?
Well,
It's a
4
new
wins in a
manager
run
bounce,
is
isn't
not
it?
bad.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's good, and a draw is not. Still
Well,
a loss.
unbeaten in 6 games.
When you consider as well the teams they've played, they beat City at home, they beat Arsenal away, and they beat Tottenham, who, albeit not in great form. But they're
then they drew to
difficult
West Ham.
games.
So
it's difficult football, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they play really well against the top sides, and then apart from Tottenham, but they play really well against the top sides. And I think that's because the way they play. With Carrick, for example, they're playing a very attacking way. He doesn't bring on defenders to solidify the game. He wants to go all out. And with a team like West Ham, where they are playing just for maybe the draw or, the win. But for this time, the draw, it was very hard to, counter that, isn't it? It's
Benjamin Sesko scoring a lovely finish again.
Saved them, honestly.
Right at the death for a second time.
Yeah.
Is that maybe potentially? I'm going to ask Cameron because you are a neutral fan at Everton. You could do with a striker that scores.
Don't diss Tiano Barry.
He's actually doing all right.
He is actually.
How many goals has he got this season?
About 5 or 6. He's got more than Isak, although he broke his leg.
Yeah, Isak's got one leg. That feels unfair.
And also, Wirtz hasn't got more goals than him. And, the amount of attackers that you signed, about 400 million of attackers, the only one that's actually done decent is Ekatike.
And also, Gyökeres this year, he's been top notch.
Yeah, he's been flying. So, is Sesko, do you reckon, the striker to take Manchester United through?
I think he's got the attributes to be a good striker. I think during Amorim, I just don't think he especially got... I think a lot of players struggled under that system, and now that he's kind of getting the supply as a striker, he's playing in a position that's more natural to him as a number 9 poacher, he's getting the goals and you're getting more of a return. I did say the other week, and I do have to pay for this, I'm going to own up to this one, I did put a message in the group chat saying about how when Fulham equalised to make it 2-2, that United, it's good to see that Manchester United were back. Just for Benjamin Sesko to score a minute later and make me look like a mug.
It's what he does. It's what he does.
I back him. I think he's a great player.
And also, he's so lanky that he's quite annoying to play against, I suppose.
Yeah, and jump really high.
Who would have thought?
You would have thought, But yeah, he's that one player which is like most Prem teams need. They need that different height difference between strikers, and you get that with Šeško.
You don't really see a lot of players, especially like that now, though.
No,
them types of strikers.
Those Peter Crouch kind of players.
Yeah, you don't really get it as much anymore, which is why I think it's effective when you do get it, because I feel like the Prem's always been a physical league, but I feel like in recent times with the likes of Pep, it's been made very technical. That's why this season, especially with Arsenal and teams like that, it's gone back to being very physical, and that's how they've managed to be so dominant, especially set pieces.
You mentioned Arsenal there. We also mentioned Pep, and it's a much closer battle now. Manchester City, Arsenal. Is it 4 points between them?
Yeah, 4 points.
Because we dropped points.
So I'm going to ask this question. This time is directed at Noah, who is a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
So as reigning Premier League champions, which team do you think it's going to be that takes it? Who's got the goal? Who's got the edge over the other one?
I'm going to have to say it. I'm sorry, George.
No, it's fine. You can say Arsenal.
No, Arsenal are going to bottle it. Man City are going to win it.
I don't know.
A couple of weeks ago, I was still confident that Aston Villa had a chance.
I was confident. I wanted Aston Villa.
I'm not confident anymore.
Not anymore.
But yeah, just City on I can't remember how many wins in a row, but not
quite
bad.
a lot.
And they've got... It's not like a hard... I think the only top 6 team that they play against is Arsenal, and I think they win that. And yeah, I think they've just got easier fixtures than Arsenal, and Arsenal have bottled it 3 years in a row.
That is true. If we third time lucky, you don't. But the way we play, you can see it happening. You can see it happening.
I said at the start of this year, and as the season developed, where you saw obviously a lot of teams like Liverpool obviously dropped out of it quite early on when they went on that run. City sort of seemed half out of it, but have got their way back into it. Like, it seems as though, surely, this has got to be Arsenal's year if they're going to win it. They're not going to get a better chance than this. But whether they do, because I feel like with the likes of City, and I feel like Liverpool of more Klopp-era Liverpool, where they were teams that were capable of going on ridiculous runs and just winning about 10, 15 games in a row. And managing to completely turn it around. They were like the only teams that I felt like were really able to do that. I feel like you don't really see other teams. I don't really necessarily know if Arsenal is capable of managing to do a run like that. Whereas if City can string that together and Arsenal do end up slipping up, then it could end up swinging in their favour.
So I'm going to send a question towards George here, who is our resident Arsenal fan, resident expert who watches them week in, week out without just hate watching them like the other three of us do.
So much pain.
So if you think Arsenal are to win the league this year, obviously they have bottled it in the last few years. What's the difference this year? Who or what is the point that's going to take them to
the
it?
The backups we have now, the reinforcements we have made. We have a really good midfield. even without like a Rice, even though Rice is probably one of the best midfielders at this moment in the world. I said it. But
I think we all agree. There's not much arguing.
Even with that, it's like, you know, we've got the reinforcements now, where even with a second string team, I feel like we could win a load of games very comfortably, where beforehand we didn't have that.
So that's the sensible question out of the way. Arsenal obviously still in all 4 competitions.
Yes.
How many trophies, if any, are they going to win this year? I've seen Arsenal fans claiming they are more likely to win the quadruple than to not win anything. What do we think the odds are? I remember when we grew up, they were just FA Cup monsters. They used to win that every year and usually win in the final 5-0 against Aston Villa or someone along those lines.
Yes.
How many trophies are they winning this year, if any?
I mean, considering the fact that they've said that now, it would be a very Arsenal thing to not win anything. You'd expect them... They should win the Prem, and I'd expect... They're not going to win the Champions League, I don't think. They're not going to win... I feel like they might win one domestic trophy, whether that be the FA Cup or the League Cup, but... Besides that, I don't think they... I feel like Bayern Munich or someone is going to take the Champions League.
If it was not going to be Arsenal, I'd say it's between Arsenal and Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Personally.
I say Liverpool going to win the Champions League.
Well, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to say that Arsenal are going to win something.
No, I don't.
But they will,
But
surely.
I think... How can they not win, like, Carabao or FA?
I think it's the FA Cup for Arsenal this year.
Premier League, I'm still quite uncertain about it. I think City will be able to get it, but...
Is that more of a hope, though?
It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the Carabao final City-Arsenal?
Yes.
Yes.
So... Yeah.
I think that's going to be the case for a lot of it. I think that might be the FA Cup final as well. And it might well be the final day of the Premier League. Who's it going between? I think it'll come down to the final day, which is always what we want. But if we push English football aside, there was Champions League football last night.
Yes.
And as per usual, that was all over the place. Where should we start, gentlemen?
I think we start with the biggest score of the evening, I'd say. Galatasaray Juventus.
What has happened to the old lady?
How the hell has that happened? Out of, like, you wouldn't expect Galatasaray to win by that margin against Juventus.
Yeah, what has happened to... Where's it gone wrong for Juventus, do we think?
It's been going wrong for a couple of years
now,
for a long time. They did all right in the league last season, so I thought maybe they'd, get back up. But this season, actually, it's really close in... I can't remember what it's called. The Italian League.
Serie A.
There you go. I think I've been watching a couple games and it's like they're so close. The top 6 are like a couple points away. And I think that's how it should be.
Shaking a bit.
It's really interesting to watch. So Juventus are in that. I believe they're in that top 6. So they're not doing badly in league, but I was expecting Liverpool to play Juventus, not Galatasaray. But we'll see. They could come back.
Galatasaray winning relatively emphatically, you would say, by only a small margin. Is it a case of them being unbelievable on the night? Is it a case of Juve not being up to the races? Is it a mix of both? What do we think? If we go to George, what do you think the gist is?
A lot of players say that Galatasaray away is one of the hardest fixtures they can face. It could be a bit like that.
They're very passionate, aren't they, the Galatasaray fans? Famously passionate.
It could be that, and that the Juventus players have, fumbled under the pressure of how much of immense support Galatasaray get at home. And I can definitely see Juventus coming back 3-0 and then taking it to extra time. But it honestly is, with the quality that Galatasaray now have, a lot of Turkish teams do have that now, with the players they're bringing in, especially with Gabriel Sara from Norwich. He's just turned into some sort of phenomenal midfielder, which has come out of nowhere. I feel like a lot of it is quality, but also the home advantage was probably one of the main factors of that game.
PSG
coming back from
also
2-0.
winning. Luis Enrique, where do we stand? He sort of always goes under the radar when people talk about manager conversations. Seemingly, for his history at Barcelona and at Paris Saint-Germain, he looks like one of the best, but people seem to put him under the radar. Why do we think this is because he's got that Barcelona team was unbelievable?
PSG, I think, because the French league is always underestimated, even though it's not that great. It is a farmers' league. It's never PSG have won 19 out of the last 20.
Yeah, you get a rare one with Lille.
But actually, Lens are doing all right.
They are.
This year, they could potentially win that. I'd love it if they won.
That'd be brilliant.
It'd change from PSG. But I think, because it's PSG, up until last season, no one would have noticed them winning pretty much everything that they could, apart from European Cup.
Because they could never seem to do it in the Champions League. I feel like that's where you got to give him his flowers, isn't it?
The problem, I think, was because they've, since he came in, Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, too many stars all together, that just doesn't work.
It's the perfect example of you've got to have a good team a team of great players, but gels together. Yeah. Whereas you look at that team a couple of years ago, PSG had with Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, Sergio Ramos. They had loads of superstars, but it just didn't click, and they could never get it over.
It's a one-man squad really, with just all individual superstars. Now we've got a whole team which
proper squad.
Ousmane Dembele seems like a different man.
Yeah. You say that though, but they took him off in that game, didn't they, for Doué?
Desiree Doué.
It did.
He's great
at the double,
and it worked. It did win.
They
did win because of that. Yeah. Oh yes.
But as well as all the good that happened in the Champions League, there was also Vinicius Junior once again coming under racial abuse, and there's just not really a lot to say about it at all. Is there really?
It's not acceptable.
You've got to say, UEFA, find out what happened, stamp down, do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard though, because how it happened, and with the camera angles, and obviously Prestiani saying it under his shirt, it's going to be hard to actually pick out. So it depends, because Benfica have already come out with a statement saying that there's no way anyone could have heard what he said from that distance. But then you look at the camera distance, and he's like, well, actually, someone definitely could have heard that. For example, Mbappe was very close to him.
Came out and said essentially everything that had been said. I thought made a very incredible statement. Kylian Mbappe, I thought he held himself really well in that interview afterwards. But not really a lot to say. No place for behaviour like that in football. Get rid of it. UEFA, do the right thing. And on that, we shall send you into the next song, and we shall move on to the Six Nations after the break. But for now, this is 17 Going Under by Sam Fender. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And now we're moving on from football, and we're going to talk about the Six Nations. Now, you may notice the different faces of the three panellists apart from myself. There are me, George and Cameron, who are all English, who have been fine, and then very happy Noah. Why are you so happy, Noah?
Because we're going to win.
France are indeed probably going to win. You talk us through it. You're the one that have watched them every minute of every game. How good have they been?
Just unbeatable.
Humble as ever.
Well, if we weren't unbeatable, I wouldn't say it. Yeah. But, 54-12 to France and Wales in the last game. Ramos has got the most points with 25. Dupont is just a legend.
He's the best player.
He is the best player. He played in my hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's from where I'm from, so it's pretty cool.
They're just next level. You can't really pick a negative in their games. They've won emphatically. They've played better than obviously they played better than their opponents every time. That's why they've won. But it's not been close.
Yeah, it's not been in the same realm.
Yeah.
Whereas poor Wales, one of the national sports of rugby, just where are they? Because
how's it got this bad?
They've become Italy.
Teams
pretty much
have bad tournaments. But this isn't just one bad tournament. This has seemingly been a trend downwards. So, George, it's a double-hander, this question. Are they going to get the wooden spoon? If so, where's it gone wrong?
Hopefully. And where's it gone wrong?
We just have to apologise to anybody Welsh. We don't want it all biased. It's just George.
No. But since I've got Welsh family, I just love to see the pain. I think it's due to just lack of talent, first of all. The talent is not exactly shining through like it has done in previous years. I say previous years, it's been quite a few years now.
The Wales of remembrance.
Yeah, Wales of remembrance indeed. But I also think with the management, he's trying his best, but something's not clicking.
Yeah. No.
And when do you have to make a change? Is it at the end of this cut? Oh, do you do it midway through? I don't know. It's
always hard. We've seen teams, particularly in the AFCON, sacking managers halfway through. Spain sacked their manager before the World Cup in Russia and seemed to go on to win it. Can you get a new manager bounce halfway through a tournament when you're already down that far? I don't think so.
I don't think there's enough games, to be honest.
I think it's a case of sticking it out.
Yeah. You've got to stick it out with
struggling through, limping
change
through this one.
Maybe.
Yeah, that is true.
Go out with a whimper this time and just hopefully come back. But it's not just the players that haven't been as good. The fans, it's not that they've not been as good.
It's a toxic culture.
They've not been there.
Yeah, they're just not turning up. Like Wales, as rugby as a whole in Wales, seemingly is going downwards. Can you blame the fans for not going? Should the fans always go? I think it's a hard conversation, and it's very easy as the team that are unbelievably going to win it to say that the fans should be there. But where do you think should the fans?
You should stick with your nation.
Yeah.
And I understand that they're losing everything and they're paying to watch a rugby game where they're going to get thrashed.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do that, but you still need to just for the mentality of the players. They need people in the stands shouting, "Go Wales!" It's like you can't have no one there. They probably had more French people there than Welsh people.
That's true as well. I think even as Wales, their whole pride and joy is about rugby when it comes to sport. That is the sport that they've always been,
associated with.
It's just bizarre to see have this downward spiral.
And much again in the opposite vein, we've not spoken about England a lot, and that's because there's not really a great deal. We've sort of just been
average.
We've played.
We've
fine.
been England.
We've not been terrible. We've not been world beaten. Just sort of fine. That wishy-washy.
I feel like sometimes that's the hardest place to be, because obviously it's always the worst to be the worst. But when you're kind of in that middle spot of you're okay, you're not doing terribly. Obviously, it's quite easy to look at when you're failing and go, there's issues with this, there's issues with that. The fans, the culture, just the players not being good. But when everything's just average, how do you get from being average to being good? Because it's very easy to go, we need to make changes here, there, and everywhere when you're bad, or we need to keep this winning culture going when you're doing good. But when you're in that in between spot, how are you going to elevate yourself to actually stop wanting to be? I'm not saying you want to be average, but want to succeed and be hungrier for success.
Well, because if you're Wales, you've got nothing to lose at this point. You're losing every game anyway. Make some changes.
Throw the kitchen
If
sink at
it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, same position as before.
Yeah.
If you're England, you've got something to lose because you're doing all right.
Yeah.
But you want to be doing better.
We've seen that with Scotland
a
bit,
risks.
where they were a bit, lacklustre, and now ever since the last few years, they've kind of swapped places with Wales a bit, and they've kind of gone, we can, beat teams like England, for example, which they weren't really doing beforehand. I mean, they've done it every now and then, but now it's a very hard game for England to play, obviously.
It's a change in tournament, I think, and I think it will be. I don't think we'll see Six Nations where all six are battling for the top spot for a while.
No.
But here's hoping. Wales try and improve, because it's
be better.
It's
improve Wales.
I think it's almost a bit sort of sad to watch them.
Yeah.
It's a bit, and I'm going to trust me to turn it back to Formula One, but it's a bit like watching Lewis Hamilton last year, like someone that you think should just be winning every time, just sort of whimper and limp.
It's a bit like
games.
that old family dog that everybody just loves, but it kind of comes to a point where you're just like, it's a bit dark for the Shock Sports Show. Its time has kind of come. You know what I mean? I know. I know. It's a nation.
It's time to get a new one.
It's time to move on. I feel like sometimes in sports with your team, you get to a point of you're just fed up of being bad. You're sick of being. Fans are just fed up of being fed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just when are things going to get better? It's just constant pain forever. You know what I mean?
So we'll move on from that.
Great analogy.
Sorry,
it was
a good analogy. You don't get that on Sky Sports. We'll move on to Italy, and Milan specifically, holding the Winter Olympics, where Team GB not exactly flying. 3 gold medals. It's not too bad considering we're not really a winter sport heavy nation. But good lord, over the last few weeks, it has been interesting in that Winter Olympics. There has been kickoffs in the curling. There's been kickoffs in the ice skating. There's been big air finals that are some of the best we've ever seen. But we'll keep it close to home, and we'll keep it with the skeleton. And Matt Weston, in his aim to be Sports Personality of the Year, has won singles and doubles with both golds, holding the majority of England's medals. How good are England at the skeleton?
They're deadly. They're deadly. It is our sport when it comes to Winter Olympics, I'd say.
It is the one that we've been good at historically. And considering we've only really got one practice place for skeleton. You can't really build a skeleton track just smallly. It's not like football. But we can only really practice at a university in Bath, I think it is, where we can only really practice the start. Meaning that the start of England's skeleton runs is solid. Like, every athlete that does the skeleton forwards is solid. It then just becomes a case of muscle memory to be able to hold it through. But with 2 gold medals, you can't. Can you complain? Can you expect more?
I mean,
can we expect it to be a trend forever?
I'm quite happy with the goals.
You can't complain about gold.
I'm quite happy with that. Yeah.
Can we
At the end
expect
of the
it
day,
to be a trend forever?
as a nation, we're not exactly set up. It's like Winter Olympic sports. We can barely get snow. We're not like, you know, we're like,
if it was a slush Olympics,
we're not a nation that thrives at these. You know, when you look at the likes of Norway, who always do very well and obviously are leading now in the Winter Olympics, their nation, obviously, it's more suited, them sort of sports, to places like that. They grow up, you know, it's more of a nationalised thing there than it is here, or more of a mainstream sport than it is, I guess, in the UK. Some sports, obviously, less so, but I feel like, considering, you know, that, taking that into account, I think you've got to be happy that we're competing and we're winning golds, you know. So
we've just had a live check. Who is currently at the top of
It is Norway with 15 gold and 33 total medals.
No way, indeed.
That was solid. That George.
What's surprising to me, Italy's not really surprising to me because
it's quite
they're at home and they've got mountains.
Yeah.
But the 3rd place is the United States. Like, it's not surprising because it's the States and they've got great athletes and everything. But I don't expect them to be good at the Winter Olympics.
Not really.
Unless you're training them in Alaska.
Yeah.
Where's the, you know...
But it would be a lot of Alaska.
Lovely segue from the States there, because their athlete came second yesterday in the men's skiing big air, which I think was one of the best events of the Winter Olympics. For those of you that may watch this that don't really know what the big air is, it is essentially skiers hoist themselves down a massive ramp, jump miles in the air, and just flip as much as they can and try and land on their feet. And yesterday's was one of the best finals I think I've seen. The top score out of 100 was 98.7, which was mental. The second place was 96. So that sort of shows you, and it's graded the same as gymnastics with difficulty and execution. So for it to be that close, I think 3rd place was something like 94.
That scores to be so high as well.
To be ridiculously high and ridiculously close. It was such a tight-knit final, and there was athletes falling, there was athletes stamping landings and not getting as many points as you thought they would do. It was just unbelievable, and for Norway to come out and win that was fair play to Norway and fair play to America for coming second. But if we take it away from top tier with that, there was some quite big accusations, some quite big arguments in the curling, which is not exactly the sport you'd expect there to be arguments in.
Curling controversy on the short
Sweden and Canada kicking off at each other over the idea of pushing the granite after the line of you can't touch it anymore, and then with his finger pushing the actual granite. Did you see this?
No, yeah.
So essentially, big old arguments enforced. So the Swedish accused the Canadians of cheating. The Canadians then in turn said, "No, we didn't." And in a sport like curling, which forever has been a sort of a gentleman's sport, a polite sport, there's not really a refereeing system. It's a bit like football in the FA Cup. There's no VAR, there's no sort of video replay. It's always been an honour-based system of if you touch the granite, just put your hand up and say, "I didn't count, I touched the granite." That's how they judge it as well. They say, "I think ours is closer, I think ours is closer," and then they say how many they've got closer. So, is that a good way to go, an honour-based system? Is it a good way to go, especially if we consider the stature and the stakes that are on that game? Would you keep an honour system? Would you bring something official in?
Well, I think it's been an honour system for that long. It should stay that way. And if you bring in VAR, wouldn't actually be called VAR, but
VAU probably video assistant.
Everyone would be arguing all the time, I think. There'd be just more and more reviewing, and it would become a less interesting watch, which, to be honest, watching people broom ice is, slightly more interesting than watching paint dry, but it's not much more. And I think if you bring VAR, it just stops the game even more. People will be constantly being like, oh, check that. And, if you keep it honour, and I think people will respect it. It's been like that. It's traditional. If you don't change it, people will stay within their lines and, not cheat.
If we open this discussion, what do you think? Keep the honour system, bring something more
I respect that it's a part of, like, the culture of the sport. I can't exactly say I'm a curling expert, but I feel like it would work if you more had sort of a tennis-style system where you have, like, an umpire and someone at least who can, not rather than having, like, stop-start, like you said, that would be the issue. Just having somebody that can sort of just make an independent person who can make the calls. It seems like a pretty obvious decision that you would make for such a high-level sport. Because it is pretty stupid that at such a high level of sport at the Olympics, you're having such... I get why they're having these disputes, because, it impacts the chances of getting medals, of succeeding, but you'd think that they would, it would be a bit more... I don't know the word. But you get my point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change the question slightly for George. So, with Canada being accused of cheating,
yes,
do you think that going into future games they should bring something in that's more rather than keeping it overarching? Should you, as a result of this, would teams? Do you think they'll be more suspicious of Canada? Do you think there'll be more on them?
Well,
do you think they'll just hold their hands up and say maybe it was a one-off? Team GB played them yesterday. There was a nice, good, clean game of curling. As they go further, will teams be more suspicious?
Well, obviously, if accusations are being spread, you're not going to like it. It's like I'll put it into like an analogy. If you have a relationship and you get accused of cheating, a bit of boundaries are broken there. So I think there will be questions, especially for Canada or any team that have accused before. If it's a false accusation, for example, we flip it, say Sweden falsely accused them, then, people are going to be a bit wary of how the game's played. Like, are people just saying that so we can, get the better of it? I feel like it takes away from the honest game if people aren't being honest in all aspects,
And on the curling, Team GB's women's team started a match today against Japan at 6 o'clock, so we're just going to see if we can get some live updates as to how that game is going. So as we move on to that, Team GB, as a result, I've just heard it in my magic ear, Team GB are 3-0 up against Japan.
Get in there.
So
that's what I need.
The women seemingly stronger at the curling than the men are. But one more before we move on to another sport. We had the figure skating with the quad king Ilya Menin, who didn't win. He came 8th. And
surprising,
which is not very good.
No, it's not very good. Considering
he needs to get better.
He's considered one of, if not the greatest male figure skaters that's around at the minute. He was the first man to land a quad spin, which is frankly ridiculous. I went ice skating once, fell over within about 30 seconds, and he's jumping and spinning 4 times and landing. But people were saying, after that result had finished, people were focusing more on him coming 8th than they were about the winner, who was the Kazakhstani athlete. I can't quite remember his name, but I know he's from Kazakhstan. Where do we stand on that? Is it fair to look at and criticise the best for not winning? Or should you focus on the underdog winning? Where do you stand on that sort of issue?
Seeing as he didn't come 2nd and he came 8th, I think that is quite a drastic change.
It's a fall.
It's a fall from grace.
In a graceful sport.
Yes.
You could understand. I can understand both sides. You can understand why it's a talking point as to why there's been such a fall off. But if you was that person who's just won a gold medal in your sport, you'd also be a bit frustrated if that limelight and your moment almost was getting taken away from you because of somebody else, as if you've only won because this person didn't win. or this person didn't do well. You've also earned it on your own merit to get that gold medal. So,
Where do you stand
Yeah, I think, of course, they're going to talk about it. But I agree, you can't concentrate on the legend becoming 8th place, because at some point it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
He's not going to be first for the rest of his life. It is a drastic fall, so if we would have seen 4th, people would be like, oh, okay. But I think, concentrate on first place. Even, look at the podium. Don't.
Well, Kazakhstan winning a gold medal is pretty cool.
Pretty rare as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cold over there.
Yeah. It's quite cold. It's a bit like Russian climate.
that sort of area.
But we'll stick with controversies because there's one more before we move on. So the most decorated female free skier of all time won 2 silver medals this time, and was asked by a reporter, "Is that 2 silver medals won or 2 golds lost?" And she took that relatively harshly. People all over social media sort of backing both sides, saying it's a fine question, it's a disrespectful question. Where do we stand on that? Is it a fine question to ask someone? Do you think was it your game to lose? Was it yours to win? Is it a fair enough question? So if you were in her shoes, where do you think you stand on in her shoes?
Well, if I was in her shoes, I would have said first worst, second the best. But
it is a shock she didn't say that.
But I mean, as an athlete, you've got to expect shocking questions from people who are trying to intimidate you. For example, journalists' role is to report. Well, reporters' role is to report, and funny enough, and if they want to get a question which will gain attention from audience, which is what their job is, well, they should be entitled to say what the question is, and then if that is going to cause an issue, sure, the athlete could feel a bit annoyed about it, but I mean, you should expect it. Don't you think? I don't know.
I also don't think it's like such a offensive question.
No.
Because if she's been being first place all the time, and she's gone down to second, and she was expected to win, of course they're going to say, well, is it good that you get second, but why haven't you come first? And it's a fair question, but also reporters are going to try and get a reaction.
Yeah, they want a headline.
Yeah. So, she needs to just stay calm. But they got the reaction.
They did get the reaction.
The reporter did win in a way.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to do this thing I did to George, and I'm going to change the wording of the question slightly for Cameron. So, do you think that going ahead we should see questions like that? Do you want to see questions that are more asking about what the athlete thinks of an event rather than asking them to recount the event? We see people say, what went wrong here, what went wrong here. Do we think people saying, how do you feel as of this? Do you think this? Is that better? Or should they stick to analytical questions?
I understand why, obviously, you get a balance of both. Obviously, people want to understand the analytical side, but obviously you also want to get the insight from these athletes' perspective, because obviously they know their stuff. They're the highest level athletes at their individual sport. It's almost quite similar. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff in, say, F1 with Max Verstappen, where constantly saying about not very happy with the journalist asking him questions which he thinks are pretty stupid to ask. But I guess with the whole medal thing, it's almost a bit like in a footballing sense when people ask you, oh, is it 2 points dropped or a point gained? You know what I mean? I think it is a fair question to ask in terms of your perspective and how you feel, because that can have an impact on you going forwards, no?
Yeah, that is true. And then I do get what Max Verstappen's point is with the stupid question. I see that a lot in football. It's like, what did you need to do better today? Win.
Yeah, score more goals.
With the obvious answers, you need to stop asking those questions. But I don't think the question asked was a stupid question. No, at all.
No, but if we're going back to the figure skating, concentrating on 8th place, why are they concentrating on second and not first? I don't even know who won, to be honest.
No, I don't.
But why are you not asking the first? How did you get first? How did you beat this?
It's that whole paradox of the classic analogy where people say about on the podium, the first place person is obviously delighted they've won gold. The second place person's unhappy because they missed out on gold, and the third place person is happy because they've earned the podium and a medal. It's that whole perspective analogy. So I guess in that sense, that's why you would think, how do you feel about because naturally these people want to be winners. Obviously you come to win, so as much as you might be happy that you got a medal, if you're used to being the best, you would be disappointed if you're not anymore.
So we are going to move on, and you're going to have a song. But what if you've learnt anything from this last conversation? It's that if you think the Winter Olympics is boring and not full of controversy, think again. It is a very, very interesting tournament, and it will be very interesting heading into next week as we start to see the bobsled finals. Unfortunately, Jamaica are not in those anymore. But who knows who may win? Probably Germany went 3 for 3. But first, and before we start introducing you to a new sport, this is Does Your Mother Know by ABBA. Ladies and gentlemen, and we have got one more topic of discussion for you, and it's not a sport from last week. It hopefully is going to be a sport of the future, because we are going to talk about an Australian/American sport, depending on what you call it, called either Runathon or Run It Straight. Now, for those of you who haven't seen it on Twitter recently, I A, urge you watch it, and B, it is, I shall explain it for you, essentially, is what I'm going to get into. It is essentially a sport where you take 2 rugby players, or American football players, you give one of them a ball, it is a 50-metre track, and the one with the ball has to get past the other one. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, right in the middle of the course, as you'd expect, they clash heads and both fall over. That is Run It Straight, and because that's what they have to do. They get the ball and they run it straight down the line. So, there's not really a lot of analysis we can do. There's not been any big... There's not really big... Technique. There's not much...
There's only professionals yet.
Yeah, there's not really a big Run It Straight community in the United Kingdom. But what I am going to ask you is, we're going to think... I want you to think celebrities, which aren't usually the first word that comes to your head when you think of sports, but I want you to think, what celebrity do you think would be really good at Run It Straight? Who's going to be great at it?
I don't know if they'd be really good, but I want to watch Dwayne The Rock Johnson against Jack Black.
Ooh, it's a hell of a matchup.
I think they both could win it, but for different reasons, of course. But it would be a really interesting, sticking to Jumanji, really interesting opposition.
It'd be a great challenge, wouldn't it, on Jumanji? Yeah. So we'll go outside and inside. George, who do you think would be good at? Who's going to be a good matchup at Run It Straight?
I mean, I just want to see celebrities that I know just absolutely batter each other. I feel like
Simon Cowell versus Louis Walsh.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Get one of the One Direction boys on it. You know, a bit of Harry Styles versus Louis Tomlinson, maybe.
bit of revenge.
Bit of revenge there. That would be fun. Bit of JLS, maybe.
JLS.
You know, stop them from dancing and being sexy. Be sexy by running into each other like that. That would be something I'd watch. But you know,
Cameron, who are your bids?
I would have said, same as Noah, I would have said Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We was also saying about Eddie Hall.
Eddie Hall, I think, would be a solid bet.
Obviously, he wouldn't be the fastest, but he's a big boy.
He is
you
a
know
big
what I mean? He's proper. He's a stocky man.
I think that's almost dwindling down. Eddie Hall is a big boy, but we agree with that. He is arguably the biggest of boys. But him versus, I think we'd sack off the boxing. Him versus Bjorn, yeah. After your Thornton, that would be an unbelievable matchup.
You just hit each other a bit like a brick wall.
The noise that they'd make as they collided.
Ooh,
maybe some MMA fighters as well. Get that Scouse lad on. You know,
Paddy the
Pimblett.
Baddy.
They would not. It would just
Paddy Pimblett hosts Fight Blow Up.
Paddy Pimblett would be. I reckon he'd be quite good at it. Although I think we'd just make James Askell. James Askell do it.
Yeah,
I reckon he'd be quite good at that. Versus Joe Marler.
Yeah.
Ooh,
James Askell versus Joe Marler. They used to have, they had a couple of bust ups.
Yeah.
Just made them sort it out like true men.
Yeah, I think that's how they should do it. If any 2 celebrities start to argue about anything, they just put them on the run it.
We want it in the round as well.
Yeah,
and then with dark audience, so we have a few bananas in there.
A
few beers go.
Couple of Marios.
Yeah, exactly. And then they go in and you put your bet on or something like that if you're into that. I don't appreciate betting. We don't.
Please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, please gamble responsibly.
We don't promote this.
But 180 sound when they're going into each other. Maybe that might work.
So the last question before we wrap this up: will we ever see Run It Straight for a British audience
at the Apollo?
At the Apollo, will we ever see it?
We should at least once, yeah?
We should see it at least once.
I'm making it a society next year.
Can we start it at Shock?
I think it's an incredibly Australian/rugby heavy sport, but I would like to see it. And if you haven't watched it, like we said earlier, I urge you watch it on either Twitter or TikTok. Just search for Run It Straight, and some of the compilations and some of the games that you see are unbelievable. But that is around about all we've got time for on the Shock Show this week. It will be back again next week, but as always, we've been brilliant, and your panellists have been...
Noah Bonito-Yorke.
Churchill.
George Halsey.
I'm Elliot Palmer. Thank you very, very much for watching. Good night.